Good morning and welcome to the Holly Meredith Show. Today's show is going to be about something different. Haha, not really. Today's show is going to be about the retard who is in charge of our country. And I know you all know who that is by now. That is our president. Our president at the moment is doing his very best to make sure that everybody in America gets sick. Either with enterovirus, which has now killed 4, or with the Ebola virus, which he refuses to stop. Now, he could stop it. Other countries around the world are stopping it, but not our president. No. Personally, I think it's because he's concentrating on his golfing game. And what happens to the rest of the country is just, hey, collateral damage. He's not interested in our collateral damage. He's interested in his golfing score. I'm not saying anything that millions of other people haven't noticed and don't say. I am saying to you quite bluntly that we have an idiot, a retard, or retard as it really is, in charge of our country. And we are lurching down the highway to perdition. That's a good word for you. Now here's why I say that, in case you haven't been paying any attention. We have had at least 3 instances in the past week of hazmat suits arriving at airports because people on the airplanes have become violently ill during their flight. 2 of them from Liberia. One of them is in Texas in critical condition. One landed at Newark Airport, and the other one landed in another place in Texas. Now, it seems to me, and just using common sense, which some of us do have, that if you have the opportunity to curtail, let's forget even stopping entirely, although we could have done that 8 or 9 months ago, but to curtail the influx of Ebola into our country, which again, any normal, sane, rational, non-retard would do, you would limit the flights out of the countries that are suffering from this epidemic, all of which are in West Africa. There are 4 of them predominantly, and other countries around the world have cut those flights off because, again, that's common sense, not us. In fact, the spokesperson for the White House has come out and said last week, good old Josh Earnest, isn't he well named? He has come out and said that we are not going to turn away anyone who comes from these countries and may have Ebola. There is another Looney Tune fruitcake on the loose, obviously just escaped from some insane asylum somewhere, who says it is our problem. It is our problem because Liberia is a country that was created by black people for black people, and since we, America, has had slavery in our past, and we are the country that has the most money by far, that it is our responsibility to take care of all of these people in Liberia, and of course if they want to come here, like the one in Dallas did, because he figured out he had a much better shot at getting any kind of care here than he did in the ugly, unclean, unhygienic country of Liberia. So now you have this going on in your country all the time. Are we number 1 in our president's mind? Are we number 3? Are we number 5? Are we number 10? Are we number 50? Are we number 100? Just remember that our Marine, Andrew Tamarasi, is still sitting in a Mexican piss pot jail 6 months later, when a phone call from El Presidente would have gotten him out. He has already sent 3,000 of our best soldiers to Liberia so that they can build latrines and they can take care of all the sick people so they can bring it back to us, which they will do. And he now wants to send another 8,000 of our best soldiers there to do the very same thing. Well, our finest trained soldiers are not supposed to be building buildings for very sick people, and they're not supposed to be nursemaids either. They are soldiers. My solution is cordon off the whole damned continent. What has it ever given us besides AIDS, Ebola, and Obama? How about nothing? We have spent quadrillions of dollars, and I mean that sincerely, quadrillions of dollars on this benighted place. We send the money, they do nothing with it. We send them more money, they get weirder. We give them even more money and they blame us. Are you ready? Because they are stupid, as in S-T-U-P-I-D. We have tried everything you can try with a group of people to try to get them past the fly on the lip kid. 52 years ago on the cover of Life magazine, look it up on Google. Just Google that little brat. There he is with a big fly on his fat, stupid lip, and I bet they still have flies in all of their lips because of kwashiorkor, which is a disease that they only have there, which comes from malnutrition because they're so damn stupid. They have 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 17, 22 kids when they can't feed themselves. This is why they're in all the trouble that they're in. And is it our fault in America that they're in this problem? Well, in a way, it is. Because our missionaries, 2 of whom had to come back here and get treated, our missionaries have been going over there and minding everybody else's business but their own. Our missionaries go over there and get all this donated money when they're on television and you see them every week going, please help the poor children of Africa. Don't you want to make sure they have clean drinking water? Hell no, I don't. Please send more money, most of which goes into their pockets, by the way. It doesn't help anybody. Haven't you figured that out by now? 51 years of quadrillion dollars, which we have sent these people, and they don't get taxed on it. That's on top of all the foreign aid that we give them, and nothing happens with it, except all of a sudden you have a very rich guy like Robert Mugabe, who's all of a sudden so rich he wants to throw us out because he doesn't need us anymore, and he doesn't want to pretend that he has to do anything that we tell him to do because he never does anyway. So back to why we have Ebola and Obama together. It's because he really and truthfully in his heart and soul is evil. This is an evil creature. I believe in my honest heart, I truly believe, when Satan lost the war and God threw him out of heaven, we got him in our White House. This is my true opinion. And I say it to you because, again, you cannot believe anything, nothing, not one word that your media tells you because they are bought and paid for and controlled and run by the federal government. Every single one of the mainstream media outlets, every one of them, from the AP through NPR through the New York Times, blah, all garbage, everything they tell you. Believe nothing. In fact, how can our unemployment numbers have gone up at the same week that our unemployment has gone down? Think about that for a minute. Unemployment numbers up, but overall unemployment down. No, even new math won't get you that answer. So nothing you get out of your federal government is true. Nothing. And then you have the spectacle of Dr. Thomas Frieden, who's in charge of the CDC. God help us, one and all. Dr. Thomas Frieden comes out and blithely tells you that you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Nothing. You have nothing to worry about as far as Ebola is concerned. He doesn't freaking know what you have to worry about. They know so much about this, they know nothing. First of all, they tell you that you don't have to worry it unless you're in close contact with the bodily fluids. Then you see them all in hazmat suits. Well, it can't be you need a hazmat suit or you don't have to worry about it. Which is it? And then it has been so mishandled since the first guy flew in because, you know, he's black. He comes from Liberia, so he's black. And because he's black, you're not supposed to give him any kind of a hard time. So he goes to the hospital and he lies about everything. Meanwhile, he's violently ill. In front of his building, he's throwing up. He's sweating cold sweats of bullets. Yes, he is a mess, a nightmare. And then he's from Liberia. So you think to yourself, if again you were thinking, which they don't, there are supposed to be protocols in place all across our country to protect us for a change, to protect us, the Americans, for a change, since we do pay for everything. But those protocols were ignored. When he checked in and said he was from Liberia and had no contact with anybody that was sick, he was lying in his teeth. He had helped some pregnant woman who later died who had Ebola. He knew that when he left. He knew that when he left Liberia. He knew he was already infected. He knew it. But he also knew, and this is why you shouldn't care what happens to him, he also knew that the only place he would get any kind of effective treatment that he didn't have to pay for, because he never will, it'll all be dumped on us one way or the other. He only knew that would only happen here. Liberia was not going to take care of him. They just bury them in mass graves. So his chance was to come here. And believe you me when I tell you that that's what they will all do. And I mean literally all of them, because they are now telling us that somewhere close to a million people in those 4 countries, they expect to be dead by January. So if you have that much contagion and contamination, all aware of the fact, they're aware of it, they know they have a sick and dying country. If you are that aware of it, what are you going to try to do? Well, you're going to try to get the hell out of there. You're going to try to get out of Dodge any way you can. So you will lie, and you will say that you don't have any contact with people because the symptoms don't show for 10 days. So you have a 10-day window where you're carrying the virus, but hey, your body temperature may not be any higher. You may not be showing any of the symptomatology that gives the clue to Ebola, but you have it. So once you get on that plane, either directly here or semi-directly here, infecting possibly everybody you come in contact with, you're on your way to treatment on somebody else. And by the way, did this jerk who arrived here care what happened to any of us? No, he didn't. He did not. And that's how you should think about it too, because he knew he was infected, he knew he was dangerous, he knew he had a deadly virus, and he didn't care if he killed 3,000 Americans, made no difference to him. He was going to come here. So look at it the way it is. We are in a fight for survival, and the only people that will survive are the ones who take care of themselves. Getting ready to go to my first break. Come back.
Hi there, I'm Annie from Addictions Clothing. Welcome to my store. I have been in business many years. I have an eclectic variety of clothing for all sizes, all ages. We are moderately priced and we're currently in our annual sale. We would hope that you come and find lots of goodies because you won't be able to beat our prices. They're unbelievable. And our hours are from 10 to 4, Tuesday through Friday, or Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 4. And this is Nicholas. He works here on Wednesdays. He has good times with the customers and he entertains the customers as well.
Hello, good morning. I'm Ray Flo. This is my storage, Lake Worth Storage. We've been here, I guess, about 8 years. It's been great. Love Florida, love the storage business. I was meant for this business. Come with me, we'll go inside. And here's the fantastic staff. Mr. Josh runs it. Hello, Josh.
Hello.
And the quiet one, look here, Marge. Look this way. Look this way. There you go. All right. So, well, there is a lot to run into storage. There is no silver bullet to make it successful. We've been very successful. So, you got to have a few things. You know, you got to have, of course, the price has got to be right. You got to have a nice staff, congenial people. We have that. Place has to be clean. We have that. And we have to treat people with dignity and very nicely, and we do that. So we've got, you know, the price, the staff. We've been here a long time. We got a good record. Above all, though, it really should be secure. And we have very little problems with that here. We're very secure. We've got 14 cameras there and some more here. So, yeah, we're set for the public. We're set up. Excellent.
Hello and welcome back to the Holly Meredith Show. I'm going to change my tack just for a moment because again there are so many things to talk about in our country at the moment because we certainly do live in interesting and dangerous times. Dangerous for us because our helmsman, the captain of our ship, is missing in action, and when he is captaining our ship, we're sinking. I want to talk to you about Leon Panetta, who recently wrote a book and was out promoting his book. Leon Panetta is a very interesting man who has been serving his country for in excess of 40-some years. He is a Democrat. I don't share his philosophy or ideology, obviously, but I believe him to be a reputable man. I believe him to be a man of honor, a man of his word. And Leon Panetta was just thrown under the bus, as you know, dear leader does with everybody, because nothing is ever Obama's fault. Haven't you noticed? Nothing is ever his fault. He took a shot at Fox News this week. He said he sent his spokesperson, the idiot Jen Psaki, out to say that Leon Panetta had to be lying. No, they don't say it that way. They don't say Leon Panetta was lying. They say, when asked about his statements, that he tried to get the president, and so did Hillary Clinton for that matter. And if you know I say anything good about Hillary Clinton, you know I must believe it. That she, as well as Panetta, both tried to get dear leader to leave people behind in Iraq and Afghanistan. And he said no. Like he always does, he ignores completely all of his best advisors, no matter what they tell him, because he is the most intelligent human being on the planet, in his own mind, nobody else's. So he truly does believe that he knows better than everybody else. So he chose to pull all those men out, and now here we are 3 years later, going back in a worse position than ever because of his ego. And that's the only reason. So we will have more men damaged, blown up, mutilated for life, and killed because of his ego. And then again, he has the balls, not that he has them for anything else, but he has the balls to say that Leon Panetta would be lying when he says that he wanted him to stay there. So again, he's calling Leon Panetta a liar. He calls everybody a liar. He called the CIA liars. Bad move. Bad move. Everyone in Washington, D.C. understands, except, dear leader, the giant ego, dear leader, that you do not antagonize the CIA. They know everything there is to know about everybody. Bad thing to do. So this week, last week, they came right out slamming him and saying, no, none of the things he was saying about them was true. They did not abrogate their duty. They did do the proper thing. They knew the information and they gave it to him. What he did with it was, of course, nothing. You have a person in our White House who is really, in my opinion, remember this is my opinion, who is really a jihadist. We have our very own jihadist in the White House. Everything this Looney Tune does is definitely guaranteed to put us in a worse position and make the Arab world stronger. And I've told you one of the reasons for that, because of the close ties with Saudi Arabia, the Wahhabis of the Arab world. The Wahhabis are the people who believe the most strongly in the Arab religion. They are Islamic to the core. And remember, most of the people that flew into our planes and 9/11 were Saudi Arabians. But he likes these people for whatever reason, maybe because he's one of them. Remember, Mecca is in Saudi Arabia, and they don't allow us to see it. It's all cordoned off, and only true believers are allowed to go there. I'll bet you dollars to donuts that he's allowed to go there, because I believe him to be a true believer of Allah. I don't believe that he's anything else. So all of his decisions are meant to help them and harm us, and he is in the most perfect position ever. Talk about infiltration. This past week, what does he do again? He excoriates Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel, which he does now almost weekly. He told the Iranian, I can't even say this guy's name. He told the Iranian mullah, who's in charge of the negotiations regarding nuclear enrichment, that, hey, I'll slow you down by 2, 3, or 4 weeks, but I'm really not going to stop you. If that doesn't make your blood boil, nothing will. Here is the President of the United States of America telling Iran that we are not going to stop you from getting nuclear enrichment. We'll slow you down a little bit with our nonsensical sanctions that mean nothing and do nothing. And we're going to tell Israel they can't do anything either, although I'm sure that's not going to hold. I am so positive sitting here talking to you today that if Benjamin Netanyahu thinks for even one split second that this is going to take place in Iran, that they're going to have nuclear enrichment and be able to have even a teeny tiny little nuclear bomb, which is all it would take to wipe out teeny tiny little Israel, I am so sure that Iran will cease to be. And actually, it won't bother me a bit. I am so sure Iran will cease to be. And then we're going to have the picture of our President of the United States declaring war on Israel. I can see that happening as clearly as I can see the sun coming up in the morning. You people need to look at what is sitting in your White House. I mean, take a really good look. After 6 years, our economy doesn't exist. We don't have one. After 6 years, the world is in such a scary place. We have beheadings now almost weekly because he permits it. He is the most powerful person on the planet, by far. We could literally stop all this. We really could. But you don't see it being stopped, do you? If we were to, what we should do, in my opinion, is carpet bomb the entire country, from one end of it to the other. And to hell with your stupid collateral damage and your rules of engagement. The only people they benefit are the enemy. When you're in a war, and we're in a war, when you're in a war, you're in it to win. You're not in it to limit collateral damage. Who the hell came up with that nonsense? I can tell you right now, it was the UN. Somebody else we need to get rid of. The entire UN needs to be kicked out of here, kit and caboodle. What a waste of time and money. Mostly ours, again, as usual. By now you should understand that you support everybody. Our money supports everybody. Even the damn drug cartels in Mexico. Why are they so rich? Because they're selling drugs to our children. So they get our money 3 different ways. We give it to them in foreign aid. Yes, we do. Their illegal brats come here and we support them. Yes, we do. And on top of that, they come here and work illegally and send their money back to Mexico without getting taxed. Yes, they do. All of this is true. Every single word. So take a good look at what is sitting in your White House. In my opinion, the spawn of the devil. Take a good look and look around your country. We have Ebola everywhere. I believe it's going to be endemic and rampant within 3 to 4 months, and I don't think they have a clue as to how to stop it. I think you'll probably end up seeing people shot and burned in the street. I really do, because that's the only way you're ever going to stop it. In Liberia, if it continues on at the pace it is, you're going to see soldiers shooting people, and you're going to see whole villages burned, because that's what they had to do in the time of the Black Plague. The only way the bubonic plague was ever stopped in Europe, which would have wiped out all of Europe, the only way it was ever stopped was burning the towns. They burned the towns and they burned the people that they thought were infected. Some of them weren't infected, but you know what? Too bad. They burned everything. Otherwise, there would have been no Europe. And that is what is going to happen with Ebola. When they realize there is no containment, no way to stop it, there is no cure, there is no vaccine, in these countries, which are already roped off pretty much from the rest of the world, they're going to do for their own self-survival. They will start burning the towns and shooting the infected because there is nothing else you can do. Getting ready to go to my break. This is Holly Meredith. Do you really want that here in America?
Hi, I'm Maria of My Clean Home Services. Been in business for 5 years now. I specialize in residential and I also do commercial. If you need any references, I can provide that for you upon request. You can give me a call at 954-520-4282 if you have any questions. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Hi, welcome to Muscle Beach, located at 501 East Atlantic Avenue, Delray Beach. We'd like you to join us for some of the finest, hand-picked, shipped daily Prince Edward Island mussels, along with the freshest seafood Delray has to offer.
Hello and welcome to the Holly Meredith Show back again. I'm finishing up my show today with a very interesting person who is running for office in the wonderful state of Florida in which I live. I am obviously very interested in making certain that the right decisions are made that affect the state of Florida. And part of what I want you to hear today is some information which is pertinent and relevant to you and your children about the odious Common Core communist propaganda that our ridiculous government is trying to force down your throat, otherwise known as we will now have federal education forced down everybody's throat by the time they're 5. I want a man who is running for state representative, a man of the highest impeccable character. His name is Franklin Ed Shoemaker. I want you to listen to what he has to say regarding Common Core, which is anything but. And after you listen to what he has to say to you, I am sure you will join us with wanting Mr. Shoemaker to be our representative because he knows what he is talking about. And now, without further ado, allow me to introduce Franklin Ed Shoemaker, our next representative from Florida. Go right ahead.
Thank you very much, Holly. It's an honor to be on here again. I remember last January we were on the show, and so much has happened since that period of time. And just as a reminder to everyone out there, my wife and I have, for the last 22 years, worked for positive change, improving the lives of others. And part of that 22 years, we have dedicated our lives to education. Not only education, but of course, adopting children as a child and family advocate and so forth. And there are many issues that are passionate to my heart. But one of them that strikes deep within me and others is the issue of education and Common Core, also known as the new Florida standards. Don't be fooled by the new brand name that the state of Florida has given to Common Core.
Ed, please, Ed, may I interrupt just for a second? I want you to please elucidate on that clearly so they understand what you're talking about.
Okay, Common Core is basically a curriculum, a cookie-cutter approach to education. One size fits all. That was adopted by Washington, D.C., and many of the states around the United States have adopted Common Core in the classroom. In other words, there is no individualism anymore. It's all a cookie-cutter approach. And the whole concept behind Common Core is, if my child or your child moves from this area to the next, guess what? They can take over where they left off in the state of Florida, even if they was to move to Kansas or Ohio. Common Core is an intrusion of the federal government. It's a violation of the U.S. Constitution on the sovereignty of the state of Florida. And we need legislators in Tallahassee that are going to use the rights of nullification to keep Washington in Washington. Now, you will hear it around the area, Holly, that, well, we don't use Common Core. We use the new Florida standards. Folks, it's the same thing, just a different name. In fact, about a month ago, I was contacted by a teacher in Hernando County, which I will honor her request of anonymity.
Probably
Because
afraid.
she fears for her job
Of
if
course.
her name was to get out. And she showed me photos of textbooks that basically were reordered to take the name of Common Core off the front cover to come back without that name on the front cover, but it was the same information and content inside the textbook.
It was the same rubbish.
It is not only a deception to the straight citizens of the state of Florida, but it is government waste of the taxpayers' money
As
to
usual.
rewrite these textbooks just to take Common Core off, but the same content within. Now, I'll tell you what, the bigger issue, Holly, is, well, Common Core is the big issue, but the bigger issue is, when are we going to return control of education back to the local communities?
Where it's supposed to be.
To the parents, to the teachers. For heaven's sakes, our teachers have been educated, just like I have been educated in mental health and psychology. I am creative. I use my creative skills. The teachers should be able to use what they have been taught to create an individualized, learn at your own pace classroom for kids to strive in. Now, one thing that research has shown, Holly, is that the more stress a child is subjected to, the less learning can take place. And what Tallahassee and other politicians across the nation haven't learned yet is we have a lot more going on in the homes than just going to the schools to be subjected not only to Common Core, but to high stakes testing that meets the eye.
Ed, can I ask a question? Ed, may I ask a question, please? Because
Sure.
my thing here is the reason these people want to go along with this plan is if you accept all these ridiculous federal standards, you also get federal money. Am I not correct? So they want the federal money. That's why they're willing to bend over and say, okay, we'll accept your stupid standards.
Well, exactly. Exactly right. And not only is that an issue, but the issue is also one of the reasons we have to get the control of education back to the local communities. Tallahassee, and I'm sure it's that way in other states, they have got a stranglehold on the teachers, the school boards, and the parents and students because of all the unfunded mandates that come down the pipe.
Exactly.
And we have got to change this, and one of the ways that we can change it is be brave enough, step forward, bring it to the forefronts of the politicians and also our communities. We have to restore in the minds of the people, Holly, not only in Polk County, District 40, the state of Florida, but the nation. We have to restore in the minds of people America's principles. And America's principles are not just for the left or right or in between. They're for all of us. And they have very much to do with the U.S. Constitution and Declaration of Independence.
Ed, I'm going to have to wrap it up in a couple of seconds, but I do want to throw this in at you. Have you investigated at all? Is there any way that all of the parents out in Florida, and I know they're interested, is there any way for us to cut the ties with the ridiculous Department of Education, which is responsible for all of this?
Well, I have written letters to the Lakeland Ledger about the pictures that was sent to me by the concerned teacher in Hernando County, pictures of the textbooks. You know, we were even told that some of the teachers in and around the area of Polk County have been told, don't put Common Core on any of the information you send up to the papers.
I'm
That
sure.
it causes conflict.
I'm
But
sure.
you know, as citizens of the state of Florida, we have got to hold the politicians accountable for this. We got to hold their feet to the fire. We have to bombard the newspaper media, and we just have to be brave enough to do it.
Ed, I'm with you 1,000%. I'm going to have to wrap up the show, this segment of the show. I want to leave everybody with listening to Mr. Shoemaker. His ideas are outstanding and excellent. And the only way we can get control of our children, which is what this is all about, control of our children, the only way we can get that back is to have people like Mr. Shoemaker elected who are willing to fight the tentacles from Washington, D.C., which constrict us in every way. Thank you so much, Ed, for joining us. I hope very much that you are successful in your ploy to become our next representative. And any way we can help you, we are going to do that.
Thank you very much, Holly.
You're very, very welcome. Hello and welcome to New York Nails and Skin Salon, located on beautiful Linton Boulevard in downtown Delray Beach. This salon is open 7 days a week. Yes, 7 days. If you need the finest skincare and the finest manicures and pedicures that you can get, you want to call Linda at 561-274-7470. I want to say it to you one more time. 7 days a week. The finest skincare and nail care that you can get. Give her a call. Once again, it's New York Nails and the number is 561-274-7470.